The way in which slavery is taught in the mainstream education system here in the United States is grounded in three fundamental myths. Number one, slavery is talked about as if it is something that has happened way in our history's past, when slavery really happened relatively recently, and that the legacy of slavery continues on to this day.
Right, slavery existed for 250 years in this country and has only not existed for 150. We don't fully understand and account for this history that actually wasn't that long ago, that in the scope of human history was only just yesterday. Then we won't fully understand how our contemporary landscape of inequality today. We won't understand how slavery shaped the political, economic, and social infrastructure of this country.
There is a real danger in presenting slaves as powerless victims, and this is something that is done a lot in our mainstream education system. And I think that we're always presented these images of slaves with whiplash marks, and we're taught about the ways in which slavery was a very brutal system. And although that is a very real and traumatic history, I think that it's also important to humanize these individuals and talk about the ways in which they were resisting and they were coming together.
You got to be miles away from here for dawn.
Where is she?
Follow that North Star. If there are no stars, just follow the river. Listen for them. Fear is your enemy. Whoa, easy now.
I'm gonna be free or die.
There are many examples of how the slave system is seen in our current society today through the many ways in which institutionalized racism permeates our society and affects Black and brown people. But for the purposes of this video, I will focus on the prison industrial complex as an example of a modern day slave system.
1 out of 4 human beings with their hands on bars, shackled, in the world are locked up here in the land of the free.
The 13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional for someone to be held as a slave. There are exceptions, including criminals.
The loophole was immediately exploited. What you got after that was a rapid transition to a mythology of Black criminality.
Some people got the real problem.
Animals, beasts that needed to be controlled.
You better believe it.
I'm only human.
It's really important to see how Black and brown communities have been criminalized so they can be put into prisons and then be used as cheap labor, and they're stripped of all their rights. In order to be well equipped to be able to teach this, us as teachers have to educate ourselves on this topic of the prison industrial complex and really understand the roots of institutionalized racism in our country. Additional important resources for teachers to read in order to educate yourselves further on the prison industrial complex is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, also Our Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis, and Prison by Another Name by Victoria Law. I think these are really great starting points to kind of break down the ways in which the prison industrial complex is now the new slave system.